Namaste, Shalom, Salam, everybody, Satnam. I'm going to talk to you about death today. So, there's a lot of things that I've learned from dead people. So, some of you know that I can channel people that have passed. And the way, I think I told you the story, I can't remember if I told you the story, but the way this started was when somebody committed suicide in the road that I live in, and I didn't even know them. But anyway, I ended up on the scene and helping the family, husband and wife, and it was their 21-year-old son. And it was like 3 days later, I started getting messages to go and knock on their door. And this is at the beginning of my journey of psychic and channeling and all of that. And I didn't know what I was doing, but the message was so strong, so I knocked on the door and the mother answered, and obviously she was distraught from what had happened. And I said to her, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to go into the room where your son jumped from, because he jumped from the top of the building. She let me in, and I just started to get information, and I said he jumped because it's got something to do with university. Long story short, forensics found an email that was sent to him 3 minutes before time of death. So he failed his exams and incidentally jumped. That was where it started. And then I did ayahuasca, and my dad died 20 minutes before ayahuasca. He jumped into my soul, started to talk. And then after that, I would get messages for people, or like somebody would come in for a healing, and all of a sudden their father would be in the room. And so I didn't have any formal training about this. It would happen. And through this experience and my work, I learned a lot about what happens when you die. I learned a lot about the things you should do for people that have just passed and what you should do. So I'll give you one example. The greatest thing, number one, is forgiveness. Now, I'll give you an example. How can you forgive somebody who raped you when you were a child? I had somebody come in to see me because she had a dream that I was standing on my roof terrace, dressed in white, speaking to a huge crowd. At the time, I was a spiritual nun. So she said she knew she had to come and see me. She came to see me. And when I opened the door, the first thing she saw, I opened the door, I smiled, and she was a bit shocked because she just went, oh, what's that? She saw a massive, great big angel standing behind me. And she's a Muslim, and Muslims tend to not believe these things. But she was shocked. She said, I can see a huge angel behind you. I said, okay. She said, no, you don't understand. It's got huge wings and a halo, and it's massive. And like, some people see them. Anyway, we went to the healing space. I have a healing room. And she didn't come in for a healing. She just came because of this dream. And I said, your dad's here. Do you want to talk to him? And she said, no. I didn't understand why. And I started to cry because I then started feeling the energy of this soul. And I'm like, you should really speak to him. I said, I think it's important. So she trusted me. And he came through. So what happens? I then allow the soul to sit in me and they talk. I'm fully in control, by the way. And I was crying, but it's not me crying. It's the person crying, the person who's passed. So because they're using my body, I start feeling and behaving the way they do. So I was crying, and even my voice changes slightly. And he started to say through me, I'm her father. He couldn't say the word father. Of course, I didn't know what was going on. And he said she was only five. And then she started crying, and she basically said he'd messed up her life. And what happened, basically, is that he raped her when she was 5. And I said to her, can you forgive him? And she said, no, he's messed up my life. I can't, he's done. And I can understand that, it's not for me to tell you what to do, because let me tell you, it's their judgment day. And judgment day isn't about God telling you what you've done wrong. It's the perpetrator, the victim. So if something happened to you, you will be called forth. Do you want to forgive that person? That's how fair and just the Creator is. So she said she couldn't do it. And he said, and honestly, I wanted her to forgive him because you then release the soul. And there are reasons that some souls do things on this planet. There is pure evil on the planet, but there is also things that affect humanity that make them do things. So God is forgiving, ever merciful. God will pass the judgment on to the person who's the victim. So I understand these things, but as a human being who's been inflicted upon, will you understand and will you have the grace to forgive? It's a big thing. So he said, I wasn't a father he hadn't passed either. So once there's this unresolved issue, the soul doesn't pass until that issue is resolved. And most souls have come from Creator, but some souls have been corrupted by negative and dark energies that have infiltrated the system, the human body, the human mind, the consciousness. So he said, I couldn't be a father in the physical world. Could I be a father in the spiritual world? And she said, I don't know what that means. And he said, everybody that comes within 10 meters of you that looks at you with bad intention, I will take that bad away. She said, do it. She didn't hesitate. And I was shocked because, again, I knew what that meant, not because I've studied it, but because my higher self, as the divine Sophia, as Isis, as female Christ, came in. And I understand these things. She said, do it. And he said, thank you. And then he went. And I said, do you know what your father's done? She said, no. I said, anyone who looks at you with bad intention or has a bad thought towards you, if that person has, for example, committed rape or murder or child abuse, they will, like when you die and you've done these bad things, you're going to feel how your victims felt. And that's the pain and suffering. Hell isn't a fire. That's the true hell, is you're going to feel that pain and suffering. She looked a bit shocked. I said, so yeah, if someone just looked at you and thought, oh, she's ugly, or oh, I wouldn't mind doing this to her, or whatever it is, and that person has raped or murdered, he would then take their suffering upon death, which is huge. That could mean a lifetime, because she could live for another 50 years. She was a bit shocked at this. I think it was 2 to 4 weeks later, she called me. She said, for the first time in my life, I felt the protection of my father. How powerful is that? And it made me cry. I cry a lot in my work, tears of joy. And she forgave him. So that's one story. I'll tell you another story another time. I want to tell it now, but I'm aware that the clock is ticking on here. So maybe I'll make a video straight after. But yeah, when people pass, forgive them for everything so that they can pass. If someone's hurt you and harmed you, forgive them, because you're also letting go of that energy within you. Because otherwise there's this energetic tie, which is spiritual, which will continue to be there. And you want that dissolved, because when you die, if the forgiveness is there, you are cleared to pass. Otherwise, you live in this purgatory until the soul finds me. I mean, I believe her father guided her here as well, because he really wanted that forgiveness. He was suffering so much as to what he had done, and he understood what he had done, because when you die and the body isn't there, the spirit, the soul understands everything. And you question, well, why did I do that anyway? Because how could I have done that? And it's because the body itself, this vehicle, can be poisoned by media, by songs, subconscious programming in the stupid songs that you listen to, by the food, the drink, the poisons that we put in our body. And some of them aren't even our fault. Some of them, they are forced upon us by the negative energies that have been working on this planet. But ultimately, you're in control. So clean up yourself, bring love to yourself, into your heart, into your soul. And don't hurt anyone. Because I promise you, you're lying, you're cheating, you're hurting other people, will come back to you. When I say come back to you, you will feel it as if it happened to you. And nobody wants that. This is what they should be teaching. Sending you all blessings and love.